Hey guys, and welcome back to the Outfitter Connection podcast. This week's episode is going to be very informational and a lot of fun with a table full of badass people. So, hope you guys enjoy this episode, and here we go. This week we've got Mr. Brandt on. He's a ranch manager down here in Marfa, and him and I have met through he found me through another podcast, and then him and I have kind of become friends and worked together on several projects out here. Brandt, how are you this afternoon?
Fine, now we're done.
Yeah, we're done. We've got a handful of good guys sitting here, and we all played a very pivotal part in getting a goal accomplished this afternoon, or this morning and this afternoon. But Brandt, I appreciate you coming on, man, and if you don't mind, tell the listeners kind of a little bit about who you are, what you guys do out here at this ranch, and then we'll kind of go from there.
I manage my family's ranches in Presidio County, which is now getting close to about 100,000 acres, and we've got 3 guys on staff to manage all the waters and fill feeders and do land acquisitions and fix fence and just maintain the properties, run our cow herd, and we've got a pretty intense hunting program that runs about 9 months out of the year, straight through, back to back. So that's a pretty demanding thing. We take out a lot of clients, and I think we offer a good value. But it's mostly plumbing.
Yeah, a lot of water work out here. Brandt does a lot of Aoudad, mule deer, elk, and then they've also got javelina, pigs, coyotes, bobcats, the occasional lion. And you guys kind of work hand in hand with several outfitters, or a couple outfitters anyway.
We used to do a lot more business with outfitters in the past. Kind of when we were new to the business. This isn't an old family ranch. It's been doing stuff for 100 years. My stepfather built everything he's got from the ground up and started buying land in 1999 in Texas because it made more sense than a hunting lease. So, so now we've got such a huge repeat client base and good word of mouth advertising. I think the only ad we have is a tiny misspelled print ad in the back of an NRA magazine, but we stay booked every season and still have a lot of demand. So it's even when things are bad, they're still pretty good out here. It's a fun experience.
Absolutely. And your guys' primary focus is Aoudad.
Aoudad is what I can do the most of. So it's since they're nomadic, it's not like I'm dealing with a static population. It's dynamic, and every hunting area that we have is different. Some of them are more static than others, but stuff like the mountain pasture that y'all are in today is kind of like a funnel. So there's a constant flow of sheep, which keeps money coming in from September to April, and we kind of look at it as that's what covers our operating expenses for the ranch.
Yes, sir. What do you think is the most important thing about having a ranch this size and keeping animals coming and going?
Managing hunting pressure. Yeah, so as you experience out here, like if we're hammering hard and we whack 6 sheep out of the Sutton, we need to go spend some time in Membrosa and carve some out while we let that country rest and rotate around. We always start out in mountain pasture because we know we've got a good flow, and I could probably kill every ram in there in October and 3 days later have the same number we started with, if not more.
Yep.
So it's almost like the way they viewed bison back in the day. It's a resource that's tough to get rid of. So that's but managing hunting pressure is the big one. Like the Harper honey hole, we don't go over there unless something shows up on camera. We leave that to be a haven for stuff that thinks they're going to hide away.
Yeah. And then you've also got that big peak on the backside of the property, which it holds some really good sheep.
Yeah, the cell cameras have been really instrumental over the last 2 years in managing pressure. So every hunt's different, but if I've got a lot of cameras out in an area and I haven't seen a ram in a week, it's going to come up with some other ideas. But if we're having lunch and some studs pop up in a killable spot, then we can go in there and do it efficiently. My goal is always to get in there, get a big ram, get what they came for, get them killed out quick, as few gunshots as possible, as little disturbance as possible, get back out, start over and do it again, and not just waste time sightseeing. We can sightsee in other areas where, hunting and pressure isn't an issue.
Yeah. And you reached out to me about 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, I guess, about maybe doing some management for your Aoudad population.
Right.
Because you do have such a vast amount of Aoudad on this place. Like, whenever you come out here to West Texas and you think Aoudad, and then you step foot on this ranch and it's like, oh no, they've got the Aoudad. And it's, you reached out to me to kind of see if I could come up with a group of guys to help manage that population. Maybe not so much in a hunting aspect, but in a
put that resource to work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a resource, and as land managers and wildlife managers, that's our job, is to earn as much with our resources and make it sustainable. And cause if you can't make money and pay the bills, then it's not sustainable. You end up selling. Mm-hmm. So, and then habitat breaks apart, and that's a fail. But if you've got a resource and you can extract value out of it without damaging it, then that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely. And so whenever you reached out, you kind of asked if I knew a group of guys that could come help catch some Aoudad to kind of knock a little bit of those numbers down. And I reached out to my good buddy Cody with TCR, Texas Capture and Relocation. Him and I met on an Aoudad hunt up in Palo Duro Canyon back in November. And so, whenever you called me and asked, hey, I need some help getting some of these Aoudad under control, Cody was the first person that came to mind. And Cody, I'm glad you're here, man. I'm glad that we were able to make this connection and make this work for you and your team.
Yeah, this was a great experience. Thank both y'all for having me here at the ranch. It's been a great time. I think we had a pretty good day.
Mm-hmm. Y'all flew some ground today.
Yeah, we covered some land today. Saw a lot of animals. Both the mule deer and elk populations are thriving as well, so it was good to see.
Yeah, and that's neat to kind of notate that the management practices that Brandt is doing is obviously working, because the numbers keep reestablishing themselves and populations keep getting better through proper management, which is what you guys have worked on for years.
I feel like I got pretty lucky here. This is my first time to dip my toes in this water, and I'd been sandbagged by some other characters that I was, kind of characters I was hoping to avoid, and then call number 2 to Austin ended up connecting me with a group of guys that I'm really happy, and I think are going to become a good resource, and hopefully we can be as valuable to them as they are to us.
Absolutely. And the amount of knowledge that's just sitting here at this table,
Right.
You've got guys that have been doing this for a couple years, and then you've got guys, like Reed. You started with TCR how long ago?
About a year ago.
About a year ago? Yeah. And I don't think you could pick a better team.
These boys
Ever.
like to work.
Or do
They're
they?
all passionate about it for sure. Everybody is.
We're all sitting down there at the pins, kind of joking, where we've got everything staged up, the trailers, the trucks, and, getting everything loaded and ready. And, joking around. And as soon as we hear that helicopter come over that hill, everybody's in their spots, ready to do their job. And you don't have to ask any of your guys, hey, man, can you go grab this? Can you go do this? Your guys they know what they need to do on the spot.
It's a well-oiled machine, what I saw.
Yeah, very efficient.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's you see all these videos of trappers and aerial catches, and it's like, man, that kind of looks almost disorganized. And then you guys came out and you want to talk about a top tier team, both yours and Raegan's team. You guys are just killing it.
Yeah, I'm just in the air finding them, and when they get to the trailer, Raegan runs the show after that, and that's half the equation right there, is getting them untied, making sure they're good, healthy, and everything else that comes with it. On some jobs, we're pulling DNA on certain species and tagging others, putting them in the breeding pen. So
yeah.
They've got a tedious job down there doing what they do, and they do a great job at it.
Absolutely. And Brandt, something else I wanted to hit on, speaking of, pulling DNA samples, we pulled some DNA samples on some of the sheep we caught today.
We did some nasal swabs.
Yeah.
Normally we do those sample kits on sheep we've harvested and take liver samples, muscle tissue, fecal, and nasal swabs. But since they're alive, and I didn't really want to, touch the butts without their consent, we did.
Yeah. What is the significance of pulling those samples for people that may not know?
So there's a study at Texas Tech that's wrapping up studying OV pneumonia viruses and MOV And so they're collecting samples. They've requested samples of Aoudad. I've been sending some javelina and elk and some mule deer and stuff like that because I kind of want them to look at the possibility that those diseases are ubiquitous in an environment, and that spend all of our tax dollars trying to eradicate Aoudad, which is an impossible task, is probably not going to be the answer. We might want to look at some more creative solutions and try and fix the disease rather than, find a scapegoat.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah. and having that sound data, because there isn't a whole lot of data on Aoudad. Even though they've been here since the 50s, we still don't know everything there is to know about their dynamics.
And I get free sampling to look at my herd and understand what diseases are in my herd on somebody else's dime. So I just got my first report from last year's batch back like a month ago. So I know if I got any that tested positive and some didn't. I haven't had any positive tests yet.
Absolutely no positive tests.
Oh.
That's amazing to hear because MOV is a very prevalent disease in sheep and goats and pseudo sheep like Aoudad. They can be prevalent in them as well, and just to have that data is pivotal in furthering the research, and especially with us being so close to one of the state parks and they have bighorn. It's one of those deals where like, hey, if that does show up, it is a potential that they could spread to the Texas bighorn.
Yeah, but it is just it's a first step in a complex equation. So I hope that data, and I am concerned a little bit about it, that it's interpreted incorrectly or as a finding that it's not. I think it's a piece to understanding a puzzle, but it's not the whole answer. So.
Right. It's just a step in the right direction.
Yeah. So hence why I'm sending a bunch of random animal samples.
Yeah. And then so Cody and Raegan, you guys started TCR how long ago?
About a year. Officially, the LLC was formed beginning of last August.
Awesome. And you guys have caught all over the state.
Yes, sir.
And for anybody, for everybody listening, Reagan's sitting here to my right, and man, like, I can't say enough how much it impressed me. Your guys' workflow, it's down to a damn near science.
Absolutely. And we've had some great catches so far this summer, bringing in these young guys. It's safe to say we're, the youngest catch crew in Texas. All these guys, 17, 20, fresh 22, and so we're out here doing what we do. And they've really picked it up, really impressed us. We had some great axis captures, and, what better way to work on our skills than come out and catch some Aoudad in West Texas?
Absolutely. And it's the Aoudad out here in West Texas. They're not the easiest thing in the world to locate or to capture even.
No, absolutely not. We've caught plenty of Aoudad in the hill country and other parts of Texas, and nothing compares to these big West Texas Aoudad.
Yeah.
It's just something different. Whole different terrain, whole different deal.
Yeah, everything comes into effect with the weather, the humidity, the heat, all of that stuff, and that plays a very big part in how much work you can get done with a helicopter in the summer months. And we saw that firsthand today. It's like, man, we could keep going, but it's starting to get a little unsafe.
Yeah.
And the fact that you guys were the ones willing to call that speaks a lot to like yours and Cody's care for your team.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when it gets that hot, it's definitely not safe to be, messing with the animals, running them around, pushing them with a chopper or anything like that. But, at the same time, when you're doing all that with all the moving parts, you got your jumpers, your gunners, everything going on, you got to watch your team too.
Yeah.
Because it's real hot and everyone's got to stay hydrated and good, especially out here where it's just cooking.
Oh, yeah. There's no retrieval from the heat.
So if I interrupt, I got a question. So like, you guys are so young. I know Austin made a joke, about you being 15, and I was like, no, I hope is someone driving him here. And but being so young, do you guys ever have some different reactions that you wouldn't have from people you do business with? That are surprised at your age, or have difficulty trusting a young
absolutely.
group of people, or hesitant to do business before they meet you guys and see what you do.
Absolutely. Being so young, people question, our skills and what we know, our knowledge about the animals, our knowledge about, meds we use or our capture methods, how we handle these animals. But in reality, Cody and I have been doing it since 16, 17 years old, working for some pretty big ranches, started out in breeding pens and, loading out small traps here and there and slowly worked our way up. And then, here we are with TCR. But it's what we notice a lot of is once you go out and you show your knowledge and you show the skill and, fine oiled machine, as you said, that people are a lot more impressed and a lot more inclined to, come back again and call us for other needs and help with their ranch management, help them create, the place of their dreams and maintain it and gain a profit from it. And whether that's with hunting or breeding or however we do it, we just help them do it.
Yeah, he reminded me you guys remind me of Jim Breck when he was first getting started. He started when he's outfitting business when he was 17. He's 5 years younger than me, and now he's the top outfitter in West Texas. If you're hunting for your range, aoudad, mule deer, and elk or lions, that's the guy. If you've got the money, pricey, but that's the guy, and he's sewed up 500,000 acres out here. And our mutual friends told me when we first started talking, watch him. He takes care of his business and treats you right, but don't get in between his money and don't play around with him because he's serious about what he does. And yeah, I've been impressed with him and with you guys. It was easy. That's what we need. We need easy.
Absolutely.
And that's your guys' generation is kind of not well known for good work ethic, but good God, you boys work. And I know I keep going back to this, but you guys work so well as a team aspect. Cody, you were gunning today. Cole, you were jumping.
Yes, sir.
And good Lord, Cole's sitting over here to my left. And did I screw your name up?
No.
No, okay.
Keep going.
You were jumping and, dude, how did you get into the jumping aspect? Because it takes a set of, I try to keep this podcast semi-PG, but it takes a set of balls to jump on an aoudad. And it's not like you're jumping on a aoudad that's running, but you're jumping on one that's netted. And they're not known for being the most cuddliest of animals on the planet.
No, they're not. But I figured if Cody can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And because this isn't a visual podcast, Cody's about half the size of Cole. But dude, what's it like? What's the adrenaline dump like whenever you're flying over these sheep and it's like, oh, Cody just got one with the net, and it's your turn to bail out and go grab him.
There's nothing else that really compares to it. Speaking, it's such a rush, and it just makes you appreciate just the opportunity to come out to a place like this and to be able to do this with a bunch of guys that you are really fond of and that you consider to be your brothers. And so it's I wouldn't trade it for the world, honestly.
Yeah.
So it's a great time.
I love it, man. And what was your thought coming into this deal whenever Cody called and said, hey, we got this big job in West Texas that we're going to go do? What were you thinking whenever you got that call?
Hell yeah, let's go.
I feel like West Texas aoudad, anything involving them is a bucket list for 99% of the people that are in the hunting community.
From the start, really, I remember back a year ago, that's what we talk about. One day, boys, we're going to be out in West Texas catching aoudad, and today was that day, and so it was pretty cool to see, and I'm really happy for Cody and Raegan.
Yeah, they're great guys, and I met Raegan today, or not today, but last night whenever you guys got in, and dude, we just kind of like Cody and I and Brandt and I and the rest of you guys' team, but you and I kind of hit it off pretty quick, and this is it's one of those connections, we've all got something that can benefit each other and be mutually beneficial across the board with everybody, from mine and Cody's relationship to mine and Brandt's, and now Brandt and Cody and Brandt and Raegan, and and that's it's an important thing because the hunting community as a whole is kind of falling apart, and just to kind of be able to bridge that gap, be the middleman of this whole deal. It's cool to be a part of because, like he said, with you guys, it was a bucket list thing to come out to West Texas and net aoudad. That's always been a bucket list thing for me. I've always wanted to be a part of the process, no matter what aspect it is. And so, dude, today was a blast. Just being able to video some of the stuff, loading them into the trailers and getting them sorted out, measuring them, getting the data on them and stuff like that. And then we've got a couple other guys sitting here at the table. And you guys kind of, as soon as the helicopter rolls up, you guys are like grabbing them off the sling and dragging them up into the trailer. You guys are taking the nets off, getting everything like loaded and ready to go for these Aoudad to be sorted. Like, what'd you guys think whenever you got the call?
I mean, I'm not the biggest out of the crew on the ground, so I kind of let the bigger guys, kind of grab them, handle them. But I'm there with the duct tape, whatever it is, whatever they need.
Yeah.
Silver spray, tags.
What about you, Reed?
When and where? Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Reed's just all about it, no
Yeah.
matter what it is.
For sure.
What's silver spray?
Like
How you shield? Like,
A what?
It's a spray-on bandage, essentially.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Tag them, they start bleeding out their ear, just spray them.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah. We caught a deer, an axis deer this summer at a ranch we've flown a couple times now, and Raegan saw him a couple weeks before, and he told me, he's like, there's this deer, like, he's big. I saw him from a couple 100 yards, and I could see his antlers, like, he was limping. He's got a broke leg. Like, he's big. So halfway through the capture, we get on this fence line, and we bump a shooter buck, start chasing him, start working him to where we can catch him. And the pilot's like, I got this deer over here, he's limping. And I was like, get that deer, because I knew right away, And we ended up catching the deer, and he's got a gunshot wound on his elbow, all swelled up.
Mm.
So we had to give him dewormer, all kinds of stuff, some vitamins. The vet came out and saw him on Tuesday. But deer with wounds, cuts, stuff like that, we'll just spray them with some silver spray. It's pretty much protective. It's like you cut an oak, you spray it with black spray paint. So.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And I didn't even know that medication existed.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can buy
And
it at
that's-
the feed store.
It's
Really?
real good, whenever you're doing tags and stuff, you nip something, they start bleeding or whatever, you just spray it on there and then it just prevents infection.
We got some in the truck.
Really?
Have
Yeah.
y'all ever observed the animals y'all captured and handled, like ever having respiratory issues, down the road?
Not
Specifically
normally.
respiratory issues.
With the
like
nets,
Pasteurella
you're-
viruses.
You're pretty safe, but with medication, a lot of people, they don't watch the temperature that they dart them in, or they'll let them overheat. You got to be real careful when you're handling some of these animals on some of the medication we use, because they can't regulate the body temperature on it.
Yeah.
So if it's hot outside and you dart them when it's hot, and you already ran them, spooked them up in the pen, they're going to keep getting hotter and hotter, and so they can get hypothermia in their lungs, a few days, a week after. So you gotta watch it. You can't be overheating stuff. If a deer's sweaty when you dart them,
I
really
ask
good.
is like bacteria like Pasteurella multifida is like something we usually all have in our respiratory system, like what causes like common colds and stuff. And I've been curious, like I watch pronghorn captures and stuff like that. 100 people that just got back from Thanksgiving Day vacation, and then you have 93% death loss on a capture or something like that. If it's not a concern, like spreading respiratory stuff or introducing them to maybe, like Aoudad and a lot of these exotics are pretty resilient, but fragile stuff like pronghorn and bighorn, if maybe end up putting on little face masks and kind of treating it like COVID when we're handling like delicate native species like that.
Mhm.
So if you ever run across one, like holler at me, I'm curious about it.
Alrighty, yeah, we'll check it out.
we will.
And then, Tanner, this was your first helicopter trap job?
Yeah.
Catch job?
This was my first catch job. It was pretty sweet to kind of watch them do their thing. I've always heard Raegan gets pretty stoked on the ground, and Cody does his thing in the air, and it was really cool to see. That's pretty much why I came. So yeah.
You came to, as a part of the team, you came to, like, really get your ears wet.
Yeah, I helped him with a super a few months back, and that kind of gave me an adrenaline rush, so I just had to get in there with him.
That's awesome.
We
What
got
was the-
kudu with Tanner, and he got hooked on it.
We,
Yeah, I just hooked him right in.
Oh, yeah.
we live loaded a kudu
Yeah, we
Oh.
walked him into the trailer
kudu bowl.
on some meds. Yeah, he was acting up, so we had to, pull something out of the bag. And Tanner was there, and Tanner was a great hand. And ever since then, he's like, I want to go.
Yeah, it's just a part
And
of the
I was
family.
like, dude, this is the one to go on if you're gonna go.
Yeah.
So
What a cool experience, though, for you, especially for you for not, necessarily doing this for as long as the rest of these guys have. It's kind of, I'm glad you're here. You know, I'm glad that you got to experience that with these guys and Brandt and I. And is there, like, what was the highlight of your day?
Just probably seeing Cole's face when he got up in the chopper. He was pretty stoked. You know?
I think Cole lives for that chopper, though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a good time. And Tanner did great. You know, I mean, he damn near put his hands on every Aoudad that came through. You know, the biggest, the baddest, he wanted to put his hands on them. I let him do it.
That's
Every
because
time.
Tanner is the biggest and the baddest out of all
Oh,
of
I
us.
don't know. He's the biggest guy in the room.
He's
That's
got
for
a
sure.
weight inside. Yeah.
I thought he was going to go toe to toe with that one Aoudad when we were loading one of those in that split in y'all's trailer.
Oh yeah.
Open that split up a little bit to kind of push him in, and
They see
that
that
Aoudad
light.
kind of like backed up, and I was like, oh boy.
Here it comes.
They're intimidating animals.
Oh yeah.
Not only that, but this is some intimidating country too.
It is wide
You
open.
know?
It's wide open with lots of mountain ranges, you know, different pockets of mountains, and lots of places for the sheep to go. And
Yeah.
so, Cody, with you and Cole being up in the air, like, what was your guys' kind of a tactic to tackling this? Because you guys have done a lot of high fence stuff, and this is your first West Texas trip, right?
Yeah, in the
On our own
helicopter.
is
Yeah.
TCR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
TCR's first trip for sure.
So,
Yeah.
kind of like, what was your and Cole's perspective on, like, hey, this is how we kind of want to tackle this, and Brandt, feel free to chime in, you know, because you guys, you gave them pointers of like,
I'm
hey,
curious, like people that like I was wondering like how are they gonna be able to like spot them and like know if they're looking in the right spots and stuff like that? Because I know like my brother saw them like bluff here, hot when the sun comes out, they're gonna duck in there in the shade. So like after hunting this stuff for 20 years, I got a pretty good guess of exactly where every sheep is gonna be, and I like look at them all year.
Mhm.
But like people that don't look at that, you know, for that animal in that terrain, was it difficult to find them and spot them, or do they just start to blow out of there if you got even remotely close?
So I would say, man, our tactic was go to the rough stuff today. That was our tactic.
That's the right tactic.
that is the right
Go to the
tactic
rough
for
That's the right
sheep.
tactic.
So Brandt, he sent me his Onyx login maybe 4 or 5 days back, and I turned every waypoint and pin off on it because there's 2,000 of them on there, and I got just the borders. And I sat shotgun today and just kept Onyx up, and me and Tanner talked, you know. And we kind of had our spots picked out before we flew, but as you go, you know, it progresses into something else. Over there on the Sutton, we got into some real big herds. Back here in the mountain pasture, we got into some herds of really good sheep. And basically the easiest way to spot them is they're going to be running because of the helicopter, but when they're moving, you can find them, you know. If they're standing still, you can fly right over them.
Oh,
you
yeah.
can walk over them, you know. They do a great job camouflaging themselves. And some of them, I mean, we pull up to a tree, you know, touch the skid on it, and 2 rams will bust out.
Those big rams, man. I'll have them sit. I've had them sit there 100 yards from the ranger and lay their chin on the ground, thinking they're hidden. Talking at this volume while we have an hour for 100 to come roll up right next to the ranger and fucking blast them. They think they're hidden.
Yeah.
They've gotten away with some stuff before. So I'm curious. I wonder if we ever flew past like some of the giant solos.
Oh, yeah,
Good
for
chance.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's the crazy thing, Brandt, about your ranch, your guys' ranch out here. I've never been on a ranch this size. Whenever you and I first got acquainted, you were driving me around and showing me. I could not believe how long it takes to get from one point to the other of this place.
So, I'm telling you. I tell 100 like, give me a holler when you hit Van Horn so I can like not forget about you for the day because I'm maybe 3 hours away. And they're like, but don't you live on the ranch? And I'm like, yeah, it's
Yeah, you don't understand.
yeah.
And Cole, kind of what was your tactic for, or, you know, your game plan, and what did you have in mind whenever you came into it?
To be honest, I didn't really know what to expect myself. I know that Cody does his research and that he goes into depth and, you know, like he said, looks at Onyx, talks to the ranch owner, and really also trusting the pilot's intuition because they're very, very good at what they do. And I mean, when you're up there, you're trusting them with your life, and they always do a good job in every capture I've been a part of. And the pilot that flew for us today did an excellent job and is familiar with flying out in West Texas. So, I mean, I'm pretty much just piggybacking off of Cody and Tanner, who was flying, and just doing my job, which is the jump.
That's awesome.
It's cool here, yeah. I think anyone that's even thinking about getting involved in that should consider this has got to be some of the more, if not the most dangerous terrain and area for flying, with, just dynamic air densities, thin air, thermals, and rough country, and
High
wind in the
winds.
mountains and stuff like that. That wind comes out of nowhere and drops out from underneath you. It kills a lot of pilots out here.
Mhm.
So you got a whole respect for people that like working with a pilot, because they know how dangerous it is.
Oh yeah. And there was Brandt, I don't know if you remember this story or not, and feel free to correct me if you do. There was a couple game wardens that got killed on an aerial gunning at one of the parks.
They were state biologists. It was the state veterinarian, the pilot, and it was Austin Stolte, and there was another biologist. But it was 3 or 4 of them, very well known, respected folks from Parks and Wildlife. The pilot did survive bad injuries, but they're just, I guess, down there by in Black Gap, and from what I hear, they fell out from underneath them and stuff went down.
Yeah, and that kind of gives a perspective to the listeners of just how dangerous doing what we did today really is.
And those guys are extremely experienced,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, your guys' pilot Tanner, was it? Your guys' pilot Tanner today. Good Lord, that guy can fly a bird.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's stupid good. Like you said, air temperature, air density, high winds, all that stuff. The thermals, they all play a big role, and it's a real bold line, I'd say, with a skill set that he's acquired over the years and grown up flying West Texas, and just safety. You got to know when you need to put the bird down.
Yeah.
When it's too windy, it's too windy. There's no ifs, ands, or buts with a helicopter. There's
Right.
no check engine light that you can ignore. There's no warning sign that you cannot worry about. So that's just part of it, and he's probably more heads up than anybody on a job. His head's always on a swivel. He knows what's going on. So, and it's a big part on us too. You got to watch. You can radio to him on where he's at. He can't see his tail and his tail rotor. So slinging some of these animals out, we had a sling today where we had to use 2 sling ropes. Cole was down in the bottom with a big ram, and you could not reach him. There was no way. You can't set the helicopter down. He's down in the crack, So we had to. He picked me up. We went to a flat spot, hooked up 2 sling ropes, and slung a ram into Cole, and Cole hooked up another ram to that, and then he flew out, and Cole hiked up the hill.
Is that Membrosa?
Yeah, no, that was on the Sutton.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Down there in the Sutton.
So it got a little
sketchy.
sketchy.
One down the hill at the Membrosa. I see you down on the helicopter, and then I find the sheep, and he wasn't laying down, just being submitting, because the sheep is moving down, and he disappears, and they go off the helicopter, and that helicopter was level with about where you started out. So I was like, "Ooh, he's got a rodeo down there."
Yeah, that was a big ram too. That one, he took a hard left, and the net wrapped up around his horns, and then barely caught one of his back legs, so he was still hopping around.
It looked like he had an issue down there.
Yeah, Cole was quick to jump out, and he ran down the side of that trench and got on him, tackled him, bulldogged him. We watched him pick up the leg. We're like, all right, he's good. We went on to the next one. So,
Cole, when you're doing these jumps on these animals, how far off the ground? Because I don't think some of our listeners are gonna really know too much about this, because this is very it's kind of a well kept secret in the exotic market, right? But how high off the ground are you when you're jumping?
Well, today was the pilot was very generous, and so we were able to get down to I'd say a foot, 2 feet, maybe 3 feet at the highest. So it really wasn't all that bad. I think I only ate shit once. So. But in some scenarios, Cody would have more experience with this. I mean, if there's brush that's taller, I mean, you're gonna have to jump from a higher distance. I mean, what's the highest you've ever jumped from?
I'd say, an accurate guess, I'd say about 12 feet.
12 feet.
Jesus.
Good Lord, that's
Enough when you jump out, your arms start to do the thing,
That's-
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Like you're on a cliff jump.
That sounds like an accident more than a fall.
As soon as you hit, you do the full compression, and then you get on your animal, and that's typically when you're like, damn, my feet hurt.
that hurt my heels a little bit.
But I mean, they'll tell you, like, you're going to have to jump, and that's your job, if you have to do that, because, I mean, what's your other option? Hit a tree, whatever. There's an animal in the net, someone needs to get to it, so.
Is there any gear that's like real critical for y'all? I know I burn through gear. I'm hard on stuff like pants, boots, all that kind of stuff that's important for doing like what you're doing today.
Yeah, I'd say the gators have been real big because cactus. I mean, anything uncomfortable if you're running through the brush and you get something in you, you're like, damn, that hurts. That's just more time wasted. Out here in West Texas, high top boots. I'm wearing Crispies. I know you were in some hiking boots today. That's very important. Normally we'll be jumping in leather boots and stuff like that, so it's not too far off. But we're both wearing thick pants. I'm in canvas pants and he's in thick pants, and that's about it. The radios, you rely on those a bunch, and your hobbles, those are your tools. We find ourselves taping our fingers a lot because you get tore up pretty good, and the net gun's got a little recoil, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
Nothing too crazy.
You catch wild cattle, you don't do it without leggings on.
Yeah.
No way in hell. It's just, I know stuff to avoid, but you don't have time. You're kind of like real tunnel vision at that point, and time is of the essence and danger. So that buffer between you and those Lechigie and shit like that is it's important for me, but I couldn't wear leggings doing what you guys do. They're just too restrictive on your physical movement.
So typically, whenever you guys are flying and catching, right? What is the time from the time the net gun goes off until Cole or you jump, Cody? Like how
Till
fast
someone's
is that?
out of the helicopter?
Yeah, how fast is that process?
Probably about, I would say, maximum 10 seconds
That's insane.
till someone's out.
That's
Yeah.
insane. And then your pilot is he dropping pins on where?
He's
So
got
like,
a GPS sitting right in front of his feet, and he'll drop a pin on everything thinks he needs to remember. So an animal, his jumper, anything.
yeah, because that was kind of like one of my questions that I meant to ask while we were out in the field doing this. But it's like, how does your pilot know? Like, okay, you netted one, Cole jumped on it, you guys are still on a good herd with another good ram on it, and he's got to drop you off 3/4 of a mile or a mile down. How, and that was kind of one of the questions I meant to ask you guys earlier, was how your pilot knows, like, all right, I've got a jumper here and a jumper here and 2 animals down. I've got to get, I've got to make my loop to get back to the first one and then pick the second one up on the way out.
Yeah, he's got photographic memory. Tanner, he's done it so long, he knows exactly where. I think we caught that sheep right there. He'll probably point at the rock it was netted on.
Yeah.
So he does a good job with that, and every time he comes to pick you up, he's headed right towards you. He knows where he's going. So.
And which company does Tanner work for?
Holt Helicopters. That's
Holt-
who we book all our.
Helicopters?
Yep, all our pilots.
Dude, his team is like him and the guy he was working with today. The guy that drove the fuel truck in. As soon as you guys would come back and drop off a ram, we'd get the net off of him. We'd take the net over to his guy. He'd be packing the nets and putting the weights in and all that stuff, man. Like the whole thing was just nobody missed a beat. Like everybody kind of knew their job and knew where they fit in.
Oh yeah, and Matt, he's new this year too. This was his first season with Holt, and Dusty. He has a great team over there. Between him and Tanner, they take care of all our needs and plenty of other people's needs. They've been around for a long time. I think Dusty's dad started it back in the '80s. But I mean, it says a lot about how Dusty runs his teams with Matt being such a newbie, and I mean, he doesn't skip a beat. He's on it, everything.
He doesn't miss.
And he even has a radio to where if I miss something on the radio, he's right there on our tail. Hey Raegan, did you get that? Hey Raegan, did you get that? Hey Raegan, they're bringing this in. And he keeps me on my toes. If I miss something, and he makes sure everyone's taken care of and everyone's right. And if he has to jump in on animals, he doesn't even hesitate.
Yeah. And for most people that don't know, 99% of the time you guys are using R-22s and R-44 helicopters.
Mainly R-44s.
Mainly R-44s?
Yes, sir.
They're nimble. Like watching, I drove out there and watched you guys for a little bit, and watching you guys like dip and dive and duck in, and like, holy smokes, those helicopters they're nimble.
They don't have
Yeah.
brakes either.
They don't have brakes.
No brakes. No brakes.
All gas.
No
They
brakes.
fly the hell out of them.
Yeah.
They do. You can't really describe it, but to them it's like working a skid steer, driving a lawnmower, or whatever. They do it every day.
I'm always surprised how casual our pilots are.
Yeah, they're just another day in the office.
Mm-hmm.
Their office just happens to be cooler than 99% of people on the planet.
Exactly.
Crazy deadly.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, they spend more time in that helicopter than they do driving a truck.
Right.
Yeah.
They know every inch of that vehicle.
And it's so cool to watch. Like, this was the first time I've ever been a part of something to this magnitude. I've never been around a helicopter before in my life, and just to watch, I was like, the whole time I was like videoing and like putting my hands on what I could, and learning And that was something that I really admired about Matt is I was like, hey man, can you teach me how to pack these nets? Like this, it's fascinating. Like learning the equipment, learning how it's used and why it's used. Because you could come out here and probably do this with a dart gun, but it's not as efficient. You're going to spend more time chasing the animal around, as opposed to with a net gun, it's pop the net off and jump.
Yeah.
Where's that threshold between let's net them or we're going to be using darts today?
Well, normally it's bigger animals, you know, like Gimmsbuck, oryx, you know, the dangerous stuff that we have to worry about, you know, hooking us or, you know, really putting someone in danger. That's what we normally use darts on, something like Aoudad or Axis or something where we can just throw a net on them and, you know, safely handle them. If, you know, that's the way we can go, we're going to do that just because, you know, like Cody said earlier, you got to worry about temperature regulation, reversals, you know, depending on what meds you're using, there's all these different equations and you got to do all different stuff. So if you could just throw a net on them, tie them up, they don't have any meds in their system, they're coming off safe, less stress, it's great.
Oh, it's I think about it in the context of cattle because that's what I spend most of my time with, and I can pretty well eyeball I can throw that calf or not, and luckily I spend more time on a horse now that I've earned my keep and I don't have to throw as many, but I get a pretty good eye for like we're not gonna do that one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And speaking of cattle, Brandt, like that's your guys' kind of your guys' bread and butter as well as the hunts is your
I don't know how
cattle.
much money it makes, but we do a lot of it.
You guys are running a very large herd of cows for.
We had two big herds, from quite a few strays, but you know, one herd of 300 or 400, and then another herd of 300 or 400. So we're probably just a little under 1,000 mama cows, but that babies every year, so that turns into 1,600. So it's a lot, but it's, you know, we'll only run 2 pastures at a time, so you know most of the ranch will, you know, not be grazed for 10 years. So it's running bigger herds. Instead of, you know, 2 big herds rather than 10 small herds is definitely we found to be the way to go. Because it's just otherwise just the amount of work. 2 days without water trough dries up, or even a line of water troughs in the pasture. You know, they don't have my Onyx password, so they don't know where the other troughs are. They'll just stand there and die. So
Yeah.
So it's but we figured it out. You know, not an old rancher family, but you know, we can Google stuff and talk to, you know, people that are in the industry and successful and use their resources and do well.
Yeah. Now, Brandt, after watching Cody and Raegan's team kind of work today, is there anything that you could implement with your cattle ranching, with what these guys do? And I know you guys have used the helicopters before to kind of help herd.
I got all the good information on darting and having some stuff that is, you know, we've gone out with team very, very good hands and planned it out, located them with drones and hunted them like freaking spooky elk in public land in New Mexico, and the cattle that we know will try and kill you and gut your horse that are super, super dangerous. And I got some that can't get them in with a helicopter, can't get them in with 10 guys on horses and ropes that are experts and good horses. So so hopefully I'm able to use some of that on cleaning up the stuff, because I gotta get these cows out of there.
Yeah, them cows are always a work.
And it's hard to rest a pasture if you don't get all the cows out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is.
Cody, and Raegan, feel free to chime in, or the rest of the guys sitting here. Like, what are some of your guys' favorite trapping jobs you guys have done? You know, obviously outside of the West Texas Aoudad stuff. Like, what is, you know, like if you had one trap job that's like, oh yeah, this was what really got me wanting to do this more.
Ooh, wanting to do it more. I don't know if there's a specific job that got me wanting to do it more. I guess maybe over a year ago, this guy called me and he was like, "Can you come jump?" And I was like, "I can come jump." And I've never jumped before. I jumped anyways.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, that was fun." And we had a bang up day. Did a great job. The crew was contract labor for a ranch, and they needed a jumper. Everybody else was busy, and I did it. And I was like, "Damn." But I'd say some of the access jobs we had this summer, pulling some of the deer off the low fence that we did, it was pretty special.
Yeah.
And it was a good group of guys over there. We caught a low fence Nile lechway. I showed you that.
Yeah.
That was
pretty
a cool
sweet. That was a cool one. Real chill day. just a great capture. We've had a lot of special ones. We've had some bad ones with the traps,
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff, but I don't know, they're all sweet in their own way.
Oh yeah.
Always have appreciation for the animal, so.
Apollo is a cool one. Our breeder Axis.
Just
We
did that
caught
one
him.
recently.
Yeah, we caught him back in what was it? End of last September, I believe.
Started last September.
With the helicopter
Yeah.
in Del Rio.
Started last September, and we caught him out of the chopper, net gun, brought him in, measured him all. Due to all the pictures and work that the landowner had put in, we figured out that he's a sweet 4-year-old. We just couldn't go without him. So we actually flew for that one specific deer, brought out a bird, everything, and only caught that deer. That was the plan. Got him. Actually took him over to Cole's Ranch, kept him over there at Diamond Cave for a good while. He was happy there by himself until we darted him, a few weeks ago, and we got him moved in to a pen with some does that we caught on a previous helicopter job, a few weeks back, a week before we caught him. And they've acclimated real well. He's doing great, and he's just an absolute specimen of a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The pictures you guys showed me of him, he is a stud. He is going to be a hammer.
He's a cool deer.
Yeah.
He's
One
a
of a
cool
kind
deer.
for sure.
Absolutely. Now, we've talked a lot about the capturing side of this. Talk a little bit about the relocation side. So you guys don't just go out and catch them, but you guys kind of see this thing full circle. You go from catch to delivery to ranches, auctions, things like that. And I think that's such a cool aspect of what you guys do, because it's not like a one-stop shop. You guys are the one-stop shop. You guys came out here. You guys have already got a plan for the Aoudad that you guys pulled off. Kind of dive into a little bit of the relocation side of this.
Yeah, the relocation side, I'd say, is more important than the capture at the end of the day, just because if you're going to capture an animal, you're responsible for that. That's a life. So you got to know what you're doing. You got to have a game plan. A lot of our stuff goes to breeders, and we know it's staying alive. Some of our stuff, it goes and gets shot at hunting ranches around Texas, and people go and get it mounted. But I'd say some of our favorite deer, I'd bet they're alive today that we've caught. So, and I know some of the biggest axis bucks we've caught are living, standing on hoof. So.
Oh, absolutely. And there's some ranches down south, or even central Texas, just kind of all over really, that we've gotten real close with. And as y'all touched on earlier, being so young and everything, once they saw what we do and, really sat down and we got that relationship with them, we've basically gone in and really helped a lot of these ranches start up and help manage their herd and, get better genetics introduced, get rid of some of those old trashy genetics. And there's actually a guy that we sold a wonderful buck to last year before we had any pins or anything, or we probably would have considered keeping him. And they actually got rid of all their other axes just to get him and some does, just because they love the genetics so much.
And so you guys really are bridging that gap from hey, I need this, to well, great, we have it, or we're fixing it, we're about to go catch it.
Oh, absolutely. And that was a big spot for us, high fencing the family ranch together and everything, was that we'll have these animals on hand and we can really control our genetics. We can give these ranches valuable information on age and where they're from, what the past looks like, the lineage and everything. And, it's a lot easier when someone calls, hey, I need this right now, if we have it on hand at the ranch to go catch it, rather than making 50 phone calls and coming up empty-handed.
And just trying to fulfill those orders and the ranch's expectations.
Oh, absolutely.
Where do you guys see TCR going in the future? You guys are already growing exponentially over the year that you've been around. Because Cody, whenever you and I met, you guys were just kind of still in your infancy, and in the grand scheme of things, you guys still are very much in the infancy of this. But you guys are a top tier team and a top tier contender for the exotic market. So where do you guys see this kind of going? 3, 5, 10 years from now.
We've had some discussions, and I'd say our biggest plans as of now are we're going to start manufacturing our own traps and things like that, cameras, in our own private shop, doing our own thing with that. And then we've got more plans on high fence and getting some more land under high fence in the future, in years to come. So, and we kind of integrated another thing here with Cole. Cole builds metal buildings, and so we were like, screw it. We did a high fence up in Santa Ana. He builds metal buildings. We got all these ranches and contacts. We started a company by the name of Catalo, and basically we're going to get to the point where we can take a raw piece of land, say you buy 100 acres out here in West Texas. We can get you the high fence, we can get you the roads built, we can get you the bondo on it, we can get you the breeding pens, the animals to fill them up.
Water put in, whatever
Everything.
you need, full circle. So
No
basically,
kidding.
you can
Yeah.
come into us and be like, "Here's my budget. This is what I'm thinking. This is the area I want. Here's the species I want," and we'll draw it up for you the best we can, and we'll create that dream.
So really, the only
That's-
thing you're lacking is a real estate license.
We got
Absolutely.
realtors for it.
Yeah,
Don't even
like
need
you
it.
wouldn't even do
We
it
got ranch
yourself.
realtors
Oh,
for it.
Yeah. Start building turnkey ranches and like getting them stocked up and increasing the value of the land.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly.
And that's the dream, you know, you're helping people build their dream while, you know, making them money and, you know, seeing their families' faces, you know, seeing a little kid go out there and see a big axis buck or even go out and have its first harvest on the new family ranch. It's just something you can't beat.
Right.
So are you, and why I'm wondering why you're like that direction going toward like the nightmare side of building ranches. Like these guys are having a good time, they're good at what they do, and they you know are a pretty holistic organization. But I've worked in that business before, and Jesus Christ, like if you can, is it just you know increase your revenue
Well,
and it's in
and
that direction?
It's not
or-
even necessarily money, you know, it's helping people build their dream is a big goal of it. But this last year when we were building my high fence at the family's ranch for TCR, well, we came into some hiccups and had some problems with some people, you know, that were supposed to do things that they didn't do and a lot of issues. And so we ended up having to finish out the fence ourselves and, you know, going that route, and it would have saved us a lot of heartache and a lot of money if we'd have just gone that route the first time, but we had no idea what we were doing, and thanks to some friends and Cole, you know, coming out, and we just, Reed was out there, Brady was out there, another one of our little buddies, and we just really got after it, and we figured out, you know, everything, all down to the specs and all that, built a hell of a fence. I mean, I watched a big old 36-inch axis run into it for about a couple hours the other day, and it didn't even scratch it. Oh yeah.
Didn't start spins or nothing.
Oh yeah, so I mean, once we got that skill and you're able to do it, it's just one of those aspects. And you know, we're already helping all these ranches with their breeding and you know introducing new species. We'll be out there talking. They're like, oh, you know, I wish I had this pin, or you know, a couple more pins, or I wish I bought that and high fence that, or you know, some of them even have low fence that they're just interested in expanding their operation on. And if we can offer that, you know, we're really full circle, one-stop shop, like you said, and they don't really need to go to anybody else for anything.
Yeah, like this experience, you know, I'm thinking about our friend in Fort Davis who's got a unique problems. You know, they do an eradication twice a year to get rid of these terrible invasive species, but they look at their cost per animal, you know, for twice a year eradication, and they're like, it doesn't make sense for us to pay $150, $200 an aoudad to kill aoudad, or $300 or $400, or whatever the number was, and it's a problem you're going to try and solve here this year, and has asked me to look out for teams that can help with some good solutions, and I have a feeling that you guys are going to come up with a pretty good solution for her and a lot of other people in the area, kind of like you guys did with us today. Granted, we've got still got one mission to accomplish, but it's just your willingness to do that. I mean, I would expect 2 weeks of just nightmare negotiations to try and do something like we did today, and you guys showed up 4 days after I got a hold of you.
Absolutely. And that's what it's all about, you know, dealing with animals. They're wild animals. They do what they do, and all we can do is try and, you know, do what we do. And they're not going to go according to plan every time, and that's just part of it. But the faster you react and the faster you get your team together and get on it, I mean, the faster you're going to get results.
I really appreciate like your holistic approach to doing business and working in that industry. That's unique. I think a lot of guys pigeonhole themselves, whether they don't want to get involved in much, but I mean, it's just, you're young and you got all that energy and ambition and stuff like that. But I really hope you guys run with it, because yeah, I think it's going to turn into something good.
Absolutely.
I definitely see a bright future for TCR, especially like just seeing you guys work today. You know, I haven't ever, worked with you guys as a team. I've, obviously worked with Cody doing Aoudad and Paulo Duro, but holy smokes, man! Like, I don't think there's a limit to what you guys are capable of. I mean, each of you guys on the team bring a different skill set.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, even the youngest guy in this whole deal brings a whole different level.
Oh, absolutely, and there's different views that come from that too. You know, there's different opinions, different ways to do things. You know, there's times where we'll be doing something, and you know, Brady, he's not crazy experienced or anything, and he just started out, but he may come up with an idea that you know we never even thought of, and it makes things so much easier, and it turns an hour into 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it's cool that you guys kind of lean on each other for your life experiences, as young as you guys are, right? Like, I would have never guessed that some of you guys are as young as you are.
oh, absolutely.
The way you guys handle yourselves, conduct business, all of that, you know, you guys are young, but your skill sets and your knowledge and everything you guys do, you guys are working as a bunch of 30-year-olds. Is the way I look at it. You know what I mean? Some guys that have been around the block and seen some stuff, and it's like, yeah, you guys have seen some stuff, but it's through hard work.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Don't go to college, kids.
Yeah.
There are
That's a good
easier ways to
podcast
do this.
as well.
than
Yeah,
that.
not unless the economy goes to crap.
Well, and it's like what you said earlier, you know, there's some shady people and whatnot, and that just goes for the whole world. It's not, you know, closed to this industry.
Sure.
But, you know, with this generation, you know, the willingness to work just isn't there. Well, we got, you know, these younger guys that are like our little brothers that we're bringing in and, you know, showing them this is how it needs to be done. And we're trying to bring back that work ethic for our generation and, you know, bring back doing everything with pure intentions rather than, you know, for money or to get something out of things. You know, if we can help someone out, you know, and even lose a little bit of money, we'd rather help someone out than, you know, oh, no, screw that, you know, we're not going to make any money off of that because that's just not right. And at the end of the day, you want to treat people how you want to be treated. It's that golden rule, as cheesy as it sounds. But, you know, if some of these ranches, the predicaments they get in or how they need things done, you know, if I was in their shoes, I'd want them to do what we do for them, for us, you know. And so that's how we do things. You know, someone may call us middle of the night, hey, you know, I got this animal out, I know where it is right now. We'll drop everything, grab meds, and we're on the way, you know. And, you know, a lot of those ranches, they're already there with, you know, everything. We just need to get there with our trailer and our team just to make sure everything goes smooth, so.
Yeah, y'all impressed me so quick. I think I talked to while we were on the ground there, and like, let's make sure you got your money taken care of. Because behind the trail, I was having some internal discussions with our team, and said we're probably not gonna get these games for today, but let's make sure these guys are taken care of. They get what they came for, and then go to the next step afterwards. But usually we got wisely. I recognized pretty quickly you guys are guys we want to work with and build a relationship with.
And we appreciate that.
Instead of
Same
just
goes
talking to me
for
on the phone, send me 15 text messages about how great of an expert you are and that you have no worries at all in flying in this country or capturing anything. Like some other folks I talked to, their level of confidence and lack of experience, and I'd never heard their name, I had no connection with it. I was like, these guys are way more confident than they should be.
Oh, absolutely.
You guys are like, yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. So, hey, we'll just deal with the cards that are dealt, you know.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I was buying a used car.
Mm-mm. You know, and this probably wasn't the highest paying job, and you guys traveled a considerable distance to come do this. You know, and that just speaks to your guys' character. It's like, hey, we're gonna roll the dice and take this gamble, and you know, we're gonna let the cards fall where they may.
Oh yeah, I mean at the end of the day, it's all God's plan, anyways. You
Sure.
know, leave it up to Him, and you do your part, and whatever happens, you just roll with it.
Yeah.
Everything will go as planned.
Amen.
Yeah, you can have all the plans in the world, and you know, especially with exotics, you can have all the plans in the world of how you're gonna do something, and once you're face to face with them, the game changes.
It's almost a rule rather than an exception.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're coming up kind of on an hour here, and dude, this podcast I love this thing. You guys have been great, you know, not just on here, but you know, we've all had like laughs and we've joked and we, you know, built that bond and that connection, which is the whole purpose of all of this. You know, because now you guys have a business relationship with Brandt. Cody, you know, you and I, we've always kind of had a relationship since we've met. Now I feel like I've inherited a whole team of buddies, you know, and it's anytime I've got a job that comes up for a ranch or something like that, like you guys are my first call, and just bridging that gap of connection is,
It's major.
yeah.
It's been a good 2 days, I'd say.
Oh yeah.
I'd say 36 hours or whatever it ends up being. I had a good time. I'm
Heck
thankful
yeah.
for being here, and I'm thankful, honestly, just to see this country. It's some of my favorite country I've ever been in.
For sure.
From Montana to Colorado to New Mexico, wherever, West Texas. There's just something else about it,
Well, thank you. It's good to hear that for all the boring, hard labor that we do and all the time we spent and the vacations to somebody to appreciate looking at what we take care of.
Yeah,
And that's
for
something
sure.
I've told you, since I've started coming out here. It's like, dude, I cannot believe how much I've fallen in love with just this ranch. I've been on several in this area.
Keeps me going at 2 o'clock in the morning from fixing box floats.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna appreciate
There's a
this.
lot of
Yeah,
water
so
on this
good,
range.
yeah.
There is a lot of water.
Yeah.
Brandt and your guys' employees and your guys' team as well. Like, you guys really take pride in this place.
I got a good crew right now. I've gone through a lot of shenanigans and just ended up stumbling. I deserve zero credit for having a good crew. It's never the one I would have recruited intentionally, but it's a lot of turnover has resulted into stumbling across a good set of guys, and they weren't the most experienced guys. But it was a good time. It's a free place and cool place to work.
And then also, taking this land in as your own, even though your stepdad owns it, and it shows the level of pride that you have. Because every time I call you, anytime I call you, hey, what are you doing, Brandt? Oh, out fixing waters, And then, I know you've got to report back to him on almost everything that goes on or everything that goes on at this ranch. And it just shows like your level of commitment to a piece of property that you don't necessarily own, but you treat it as if you paid in cash for this entire place.
Yeah, like yes, I've seen him work from, very little. Like that green truck would have been fancy back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've been lucky to have that thing. And appreciating that, and when I hear him tell me like, "You're my eyes on the ground. You're how I make decisions. I need you to communicate with me and be open with real problems and stuff like that. No matter how much I scream at you, but." We're in this together, and if I can't drive 600 miles there and 600 miles back every weekend, even though he will, like 5 or 6 weekends in a row, show up at 11 o'clock p.m., drop off load of materials, turn around, head back to the office before sunrise, and I only know that because I catch him on game cameras. But I see his hustle, and it inspires my hustle on that. Like that guy is doing, like, I'm not making 1,200-mile round trips to drop off hay bales or broken equipment and change out tires and stuff like that. But guys made a heck of a living for himself, and I'm nervous to not screw that one up.
Yeah. And your stepdad, he also has a very good team behind him as well, and that's kind of like the premise of this whole episode. It's just the teamwork across the board. Your and I's teamwork, you and your stepdad's teamwork.
They get
his
filtered out
teams.
quickly, as you know.
Oh yeah. And
Yeah.
the capture crew's teamwork, like you can make a lot of things happen whenever you put the right people in the right positions.
What was the first thing he said to you when he met you?
Oh, what are they out of beards or razors in West Texas? Yep, they're freshly sold out. Not a hi, how you doing? It's what are they out of razors in West Texas?
The last 4 years they are.
Yeah, so Cody and Raegan, I'll let you guys kind of speak on this, and then Brandt, I'll close it with you. But what are some words of advice for somebody that's wanting to get into your guys' side of the game?
Don't jump into it thinking that you can just do stuff and that you can just figure it out and all that. These are animals you're dealing with, and you're dealing with their life at the end of the day. And we put in a good amount of work, a few years, under some great ranches and under some other capture crews, and to learn what we do. And it takes a lot. And there's people that they think they can just go get a trap and do what we do, and it's not quite that easy.
Mm-hmm.
And Cody sees it all the time, and he agrees. We got to put in the work. You can't just start it. If you could just start it and do it, then there'd probably be a lot more people doing it, a lot more successful at it too. and it wouldn't have taken so long to start up TCR.
Mhm.
But here we are, years down the road, and we're just getting started.
Cody?
I would say, specifically for the capture and relocation industry, don't be about the money, be about the wildlife.
Mhm.
Because that's going to get you way further than the money ever will.
Yeah.
I mean, you're working. If you work hard, you're going to make money, enough money to keep going. It's just, a simple equation there. Be about the wildlife, Since the beginning, Raegan is the same way I am. We're just eager to get our hands on animals. We just want to catch stuff, Like, I don't care what it is. I want to catch it, and I want to catch a bunch of it, whatever. So every week it's something new, It is, and it's a run and gun business. It is, because animals take precedence over everything. If you drop a trap, you got to hit the road.
Mhm.
There's no waiting around. Just like jumping out of the helicopter. If you drop a net on an animal, get out of the helicopter. You got to go.
Yeah.
So it's hard work, but I think it builds really good character, and it's exciting to have the young guys involved in it because, they shape up quick and they love it, and it's cool to see people passionate about wildlife.
Absolutely.
I think it is.
And these younger guys that are sitting here, they are legitimately the next generation of conservationists.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And that's one thing you guys are very, very good at is being conservationists forefront by taking care of the animals. Hey, we've got X amount of animals we've got to pull off this place. You guys don't pull an animal more off of that place.
No.
We've got this number that we have to get the numbers right, and that's all you take. It would be easy for you guys to grab another couple axes or another couple Aoudad and make another couple thousand.
Right.
But it's, hey, we're in this for the management aspect, and that speaks volumes to your guys' character on this whole deal.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Brandt, you got any words of
So
advice
I've
for the
trained
listeners?
a lot of ranch hands and mechanics and fence builders and hunting guides over the years, and Dad's always asking, I think you're gonna have to guide this one. I don't know if they can or not. And what I've observed is to make a good hunting guide, you have to like hunting. You have to love hunting to make a good hunting guide, and you can't. That's not not something you can work around. And I hear the way you just talked. You love what you do, and you're going to be very, very good at it. It's very inspiring to hear you talk like that. So, yeah, I'm not worried about y'all's career at all.
Don't get us wrong. We love to kill stuff.
Oh, yeah.
We love to hunt.
Yeah,
There are some
there's
certified
a
killers
demand
out
for
there
that too. So
Yeah.
it's
You got to scratch that itch.
yeah, just take care of your people and take care of your animals. There's a huge gap in this industry for something like that, and people that offer holistic solutions. And if I knew guys that thought holistically, offered holistic solutions, and were motivated by the wildlife, you caught me off guard when you talked about spending time with the wildlife is your main driver, because I haven't heard that, searching for guys to help me in this little deal. So I think we're gonna do some good stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a bright future for the team at this table.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Good things are coming.
Oh yeah, stuff in the pipeline. We're gonna come up with some cool stuff here pretty
Heck
quick.
yeah.
What about Cody, Brady, Cole, and Tanner? You guys got words of advice for guys that are, kind of looking at maybe getting into this, but they're not sure where to get their toes wet, and how you get plugged in with a solid team?
I mean, I didn't really know Cody or Raegan. I kind of got connected through Cole, which is another 17-year-old guy. Works with us. Just connections, meeting people, building relationships.
Well, I want to know, because we never really had this conversation, why, I'm not saying in a rude way, but why do y'all like coming so much? Y'all will drop anything to be at any capture. It doesn't matter. We call the phone. Y'all are there. Where's that fire in y'all? Y'all get excited about it? What is it?
It's like cowboys. They
Fun,
don't
yeah,
do it
yeah.
for the money.
Yeah, I mean,
No.
It's fun.
I mean, for me, it's just fun.
Yeah.
And we're still learning, but I feel we're learning from the best right here. And we're learning quick, and we're getting stuff done. It's a whole process. I know me and Raegan have had this talk a whole bunch of times. It's a whole process. I can't, you don't like you said earlier. You can't just jump into it blind and expect to make a whole bunch of money right off the bat. There's a whole process. You gotta learn everything. But yeah, I'm just grateful to be here learning from the best.
Yeah,
That for me, that's why I'm so eager to, let's do it.
Information.
When, where? Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
I want to learn. I want to get on it.
That's
I
cool.
want to be hands on.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really hunt much growing up. I haven't really been into all that. My family hasn't. But coming out here, I mean, found a love for it.
How can you not?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And especially in country like this, man.
Yeah.
You're not going to see anything else in the world that remotely resembles
Yeah.
what this place looks
There's
like.
nothing like those West Texas and all that.
No.
There's nothing like them. It's awesome out here.
What about you, Cole?
Don't be scared to work and get your hands dirty, and I mean, know who you're gonna work for, and if they're, have a good reputation in this industry. I mean, don't take the first offer that comes your way. I mean, just use your head, think about it. So, I mean, just and also just have a passion for it. Really, that's all I can say.
Dig it. What about you, buddy? Mr. Tanner?
I don't know. I mean, I was just sitting around with Cole and Cody, and Cody's like, "Hey, man, I'm doing this. You wanna go?" I just never been this far west. And was just like, "Shit, yeah, I'll go."
Completely
So we're popping
organic.
all the
I love
cherries.
it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You dove in head first on this deal.
Yeah.
No steps in the pool.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I appreciate everybody listening. I appreciate all you guys being here.
Yeah, thanks
Like,
for
this
having
is
Absolutely.
this is probably one of my favorite podcasts that I've recorded so far. Out of this is probably going to be episode 17 or 18, and dude, like, I can't wait for the next one. I can't wait for like the next job all of us get together on, or the next thing that we got coming.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a good time.
It was a
It's gonna be
damn good roundtable talk.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I,
it was a damn
yeah,
good
man.
roundtable talk.
I think our listeners are going to gain a lot of value out of this episode.
I agree.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be good.
Alrighty, well, I appreciate everybody.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.